What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and things are heating up with Elon Musk formally challenging the CEO of Twitter to a debate on the public space, I guess in Twitter Spaces maybe. In addition to his countersuit, all sorts of other things are bubbling up here, including Elon basically saying that the deal to Twitter to buy Twitter is still on the table. Now, late Friday, we got to see a little bit about what Elon Musk's countersuit looks like. Elon Musk's counterclaim suit against Twitter. Clearly, from Twitter SEC filings, the MDAO, the monthly active users, is the key metric. It is the key metric for its business revenue and its market value. MDAO is an ad hoc metric created to protect Twitter's interests. No competitor uses anything similar, essentially saying that Twitter's way of calculating whether or not you have X percentage of bots is proprietary and ridiculous. 2, when Elon requested more information about the spam and fake accounts, Twitter provided a vague response. Quote, then, when they did respond, they provided outdated data, then offered a fake data set, not the real quote-unquote fire hose that everyone reported that they offered, then provided a cleaned data set where they already suspended malicious accounts. Think about that. If that's true, this is like a big, big, big deal. If it's true. Because essentially, if Twitter's like scrubbing the data that they gave to Elon, this is a major red flag. This essentially, if true, means that he's 100% right. And if he's right, Twitter has massive, massive issues. Because if he's able to pull from them the truth in this lawsuit, then it could mean the collapse of Twitter entirely. I'm talking about major pushback from every single investor, from the government, from the SEC, from every government agency around in this country would be going after them. That's why it's not going to go to trial. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. If Elon thinks that he can prove that this data that they provided him was actually bunk or manipulated, this is all about lowering the price. Elon probably saying, hey, do you really want, what if I prove that it's 5.1%? or 5.5%, or even 6%, whatever is in and outside of your margin of error? This would be catastrophic. Point 3, furthermore, Twitter refused to say to Elon Musk and his team who reviews for spam, how those reviewers are trained, the criteria it uses, the process it follows, the standards it applies, or how Twitter even verifies the accuracy of their own reviewers' results. Again, this is because it's in Twitter's best interest to just do the least. It's like, oh, whatever goes on in this room, we don't know. It's called plausible deniability. And that's exactly what Twitter needs if they're going to be investigated, which I'm sure they have. It's like, what is that old episode of The Simpsons where like Homer's in charge of the power plant, or was it the inanimate carbon rod? I can't remember exactly, but it's like a patsy. Whoever's actually doing that has some huge salary, and like they're just a patsy. Oh, like on How I Met Your Mother too. Anyway, Elon Musk's data scientists using Botometer, broadly used by most academic independent researchers, estimated spam or fake represents between 10 and 14% of MDAO. My team also, this is Andrea Stoppa writing from cybersecurity, my team found similar figures. Other independent groups also found similar figures. So via Elon's generally accepted research, it was 3 times higher than what they've been telling the SEC for years. This independent agency also confirms that it is up to 3 times higher than what Twitter claims. Now, it's not 50% like some people think, but 15%. So effectively, Twitter is worth 10% less, minimum, than what he offered before. Because if you think that you have 1 million users and only 50,000 of them are bunk, but you find out that it's actually 150,000 of them, that changes what you pay, right? Point 5. Now, a technical note. Let's ignore for a moment the fact that Twitter doesn't disclose. This is from Andrea Stropa, by the way. Probably should follow them. I just did. Okay. Let's ignore for a moment the fact that Twitter doesn't disclose the criteria it uses to pick these accounts. Fundamental, but let's focus on the sample size. 100 per day. Someone affirmed that 3,000 accounts are enough to estimate spam and fake accounts. 6. Maybe in other cases, but social media has a dynamic environment, not a fixed scenario. That's why 100 per day is not a representative sample. Considering that 3,000 accounts per month and not 100 per day is a conceptual error. Moreover, the real question is, why does a multi-billion-dollar company invest so little in these analyses? Why most of the things related to the topic are vague and incomplete? Why is it hard to provide data, criteria, and the methods to the public? Many of you hated Facebook for such little transparency, but Twitter is far worse. And for years, most researchers affirmed that Twitter's estimates about its spam and fake accounts were inaccurate. Nobody cared. But now Elon Musk opened Pandora's box, and there's still a story to write. Now, he's still saying, Elon says Twitter deal still could go forward once the data is confirmed. The billionaire CEO of Tesla agreed to buy Twitter in April for $44 billion, but has been trying to back out of the deal since July. In my opinion, he's not trying to back out of it. He's just trying to go negotiate a better price. Accusing Twitter of misleading his team to the true size of its user base and other problems he said amounted to fraud and breach of contract. Twitter sued him last month to complete the acquisition, and Musk countered. If Twitter simply provides their method of sampling 100 accounts and how they're confirmed to be real, the deal should proceed in the original terms. Musk tweeted early Saturday. However, if it turns out that the SEC filings are materially false, then it should not. I mean, that sounds like a guy who's pretty confident in his data, doesn't it? He's basically saying, yeah, I'll pay full price as long as they can back up how they came up with this number. You see him reply, good summary of the problem. If Twitter simply provides their method for sampling 100 accounts and how they're confirmed to be real, the deal should proceed on the original terms, saying he'll pay full price. Or if it turns out that their filings are materially false, then it should not. Musk, who has more than 100 million Twitter followers, went on to challenge the Twitter CEO to a public debate on the Twitter bot percentage. This again means that Elon Musk must be essentially 110% confident in his data. Like he must be that confident in his data. In detailed reports about Musk's countersuit, he is claiming Twitter of intentionally miscounting the number of spam accounts in order to juice its user metrics as part of its scheme to mislead investors about companies' prospects. He also claims that Twitter's reliance on the metric of MDAU, or monetizable daily active users, essentially real users, as a basis of revenue is misleading in and of itself. I mean, it would be pretty interesting. I mean, what I think what's going to be part of this is that you're going to have a fundamental disagreement on what constitutes an actual real user. Most of us would think a monthly active real user is an actual human. If that human has 10 accounts, that's still one user, right? If that human has 1,000 accounts, it's still one user, because it's still only one potential point of purchase for a product as an advertiser. But Twitter doesn't agree. Musk, pinned this tweet. I hereby challenge Parag to public debate about the Twitter bot percentage. Let him prove to the public that Twitter has less than 5% fake or spam daily users. Again, Twitter has Elon has said that he will pay full price if they can prove it. I mean, that means a lot. Musk promptly pinned the tweet to his profile, then polled his followers on whether they believe Twitter's argument of less than 5% of its monthly active users are fake or spam. The two options are yes with 3 robot emojis, cleverly implying that any users who picked this option are also a bot, or Lamau no. So far, 67.2% of users picked Lamau no. The poll concludes on Sunday, and its results will almost inevitably be skewed in Musk's favor. It seems unlikely that the latest stunt draws a direct response from the CEO or Twitter chairman Brett Taylor, since the actual dispute in front of a real judge and jury is scheduled for a hearing in court in just a couple of months, October, I believe. Twitter's lawyers already laid out what the company thinks of Musk's bot claims, which Twitter claims Musk got from a site called Botometer, in a hefty filing of its own that heavily referenced tweets of his and may be updated to include today's selection. Of course, they're merely experts in corporate laws and contracts. They might have what it takes to swing an argument executed through memes, quote tweets, and polls. Of course, The Verge, mainstream media hates Elon Musk, but I sincerely hope he's correct here. I do think he is correct. And the question is, do I think it will actually go to trial? I don't. I would be shocked. It may start. They may find a way to settle. If we look at, what's happening with the stock market. Now, of course, it's difficult to know because the economy is not awesome right now. But you can see Twitter stock is trending up, back up to $42.50. People must seem to think, that it's got a chance. This is a pretty big spike from, $40 all the way up to $43. That's almost 5% over the past 5 days. Strong, interesting. Even though they missed earnings, people must think a deal is imminent. My guess is Wall Street thinks that a deal is going to happen, but obviously at less than $54.20. I think a deal gets done at 47, 46, 48, somewhere in that range maybe. Elon takes the purchase and goes through. That's the best case scenario for me, so maybe that's why I hope it. I don't own any stock, but I would love for Twitter to be taken private and get real data and real transparency on things. What do you think? Do you think it's still going to go through? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do click that red subscribe button down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.